Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today as we discuss the astrological energies of August 19th until August 26th, where we are now in eclipse season, moving between eclipses that are very different in their energetic imprint and also ushering us into more clarity around our choices, energies, and needs. So we just had that Leo Total Solar Eclipse back on August 12th, occurring at 20 degrees of Leo in your chart. So here we are a week later, and in a short span of only 1 week, what has been made more visible to you? What has become evident and clear? And this could have resulted in an exciting new beginning, a strong new start, perhaps a powerful choice or direction that you realized, yes, I have to do this, I have to go for this. There could also have been some very big understandings of what you need to cut off and move away from, where those completions are necessary to the point that you have to prioritize your energy and your needs. There is no compromising. There is no negotiating that. There is a need to stand strong in who you are and in your energy now. So just some of the themes that perhaps have come up for you over this past week since that eclipse was exact. Now, on the day of the eclipse, I had an amazing conversation with the one and only Pam Gregory over on her YouTube channel. I didn't share that last week because I didn't know when it was going to go live, but Pam and I spoke on the eclipse and then she shared it on her YouTube channel on that same day. And it was a fabulous conversation about the energies of the eclipse and the nodes of fate cycle. So please check that out if you're so inclined. Pam always brings so much intelligence and wisdom to her astrological perspectives, and it's always a joy to connect with her. So I am grateful when we can connect like this, especially because so many of you enjoy it. Thank you for all of your lovely comments and feedback. And also, it was so sweet of you, those who reached out to me about me being tired. So we had some new beginnings in my life last week that have shifted my daily schedule, including school starting last week. And then I also had what I could only describe as an elevation gain last week, which is something in my life required me to elevate rapidly and quickly. Like when you're hiking and you're just going for a day hike and you're taking it as it comes and you're like, okay, this is fine. And then all of a sudden, the path gets really steep and requires more from you, but it's absolutely worth it. So this particular eclipse lit up my chart in so many beautiful ways. I'm very excited about these new beginnings, but they also are a new frequency. So I share that in case you can relate to the power of these new frequencies and what they are bringing alive within us. Okay, so good energy is here. Good stuff is in the mix. Let's discuss what is going on this week as we move in between eclipses and approach the Pisces Lunar Eclipse that will be exact August 27th or August 28th, depending on your location. So as we approach the second eclipse, we have some other important transits occurring this week that you're probably already in the midst of. And so I want to begin by discussing how Venus in Libra is opposing Saturn retrograde in Aries at 14 degrees exact on August 21st. But this particular opposition between Venus and Saturn is already in the energy field right now before it's exact. And so you could be coming up against some important choices around finances, relationships, partnerships, connections, and where you are investing your time. And so this opposition, Venus is realizing she has to make a choice. She has to choose something that actually is for her new start and new beginning energy that has been unfolding throughout all of this year. So she opposes this Saturn retrograde in Aries, which is standing still essentially and bringing your attention to what you're working on, what you're investing in, what you are diligently manifesting and creating for yourself, perhaps independently and courageously all on your own. And now Venus is realizing I have to make a choice that aligns with this new start of who I am and who I'm becoming. But it means that some things that I would have previously selected have to go, cannot be where I continue to show up or invest my energy. So we have some big choice points here around what you really value. And this Saturn is making it tough. Saturn oppositions bring in a challenge that can be felt as something outside of you is deciding, or something outside of you is applying this tension and pressure that's very uncomfortable. And yet you realize, okay, the highest choice point here is that I honor what I need and who I am now. And this Venus in Libra, she is diplomatic. She's a negotiator. She sees both options, both choices. She can understand things in a detached way that can also paralyze her decision making. And so maybe that is something you're feeling, is that you have some choices to make and you don't know what to choose. And if you are empathetic, sensitive, and aware of other people, you don't want to hurt feelings, which is something that Venus in Libra never wants to do. She doesn't want to be seen in a negative light, or she doesn't want to be disrespectful to other people either. And so this is where she can unconsciously take on the feelings and perspectives of others that isn't hers. It's not hers to carry. And so Venus in Libra is being required to choose herself, choose what she's already been investing in and ultimately enjoying, but something comes up that requires her to stand strong in what she's choosing, even if it disappoints others, even if she has that sense of I'm letting them down, or they relied upon me for this, or this is a hard conversation to have, which is also something here with this Venus in Libra opposing Saturn in Aries, is that you might have to engage in a conversation or discussion that's very uncomfortable. But the best thing to do here is to honor your needs, your truth, and your perspective while also allowing others to do the same. And so there could be something here that even feels like you have to handle it on your own and you can't go to others, maybe for their feedback or their thoughts. There could be something here that you realize, I need to take care of this. I can handle this and I'll get through this, even though I'm aware that others might not like or might not agree with what I'm deciding. Now, this Venus in Libra is going to continue to be important because we have an upcoming Venus retrograde that starts the beginning of October, specifically October 3rd. That's when she'll station retrograde at 8 degrees of Scorpio, and then she will re-enter Libra October 25th and retrograde back to 22 degrees of Libra. So Venus is not in her retrograde shadow yet, but she has an extended stay in both Libra and Scorpio this year because of her upcoming retrograde. And I think this is where some things are going to become very apparent in relationships, partnerships, business collaborations, client work, and essentially the important one-on-one dynamics in your life. This Venus retrograde is actually going to require you to be strong in expressing what's on your mind, what you need, what you're thinking, what is important to you. And to understand that with all these other energies that have been in play this year, it is going to change relationships that haven't shifted yet. Meaning, more specifically, if there are relationships that are out of balance, unhealthy, lacking equal giving and receiving, lacking that reciprocity or investment, perhaps lacking honest communication and personal expression of who you are, what you need, there are going to be some significant changes that could be quite tumultuous during this particular Venus retrograde, depending on what is out of balance and why. And so that's coming, especially in October and November. But there's some type of heads up right now that you're meant to see and perhaps prepare what it means to say what you need and express who you are from a place of self-value and self-love that is actually what we bring into our connections with others, right? We want to extend honestly and truthfully who we are to others and have them know us as we know them. And if anything has been hidden, secretive, manipulated, controlled, or suppressed in some capacity, this Venus retrograde is going to put all of that in the washing machine, and it's all going to come out clean in the wash. And that means that not every connection, friendship, partnership is going to be able to adapt to those necessary changes. So what is coming up for you right now that you are seeing, maybe around where you have overly compromised, or you're recognizing a pattern that you've been giving too much or doing too much, or that you've been holding a lot of the weight or energy of something? And I say this because I know that most of my audience is educated, smart, giving, evolved women who hold a lot, either in your family, in your community, at work, in your relationships. And you have held a lot, all while evolving and consciously doing your work. And there comes a breaking point when you say, I'm not doing it like this anymore. This really doesn't work for me. It's taking its toll. It's become too much. And so the emotional intensity is going to rise up, and it's going to be a very clear understanding of what needs to change, what is out of balance, and what has reached that breaking point. So this week, what are those messages for you? And the more that you hear them and honor them, as well as thoughtfully address them with people, the more it's going to be easier to embody what you need in a whole new way. And so that could help you with whatever choice points need to be made this week. So that energy is exact at 14 degrees of Libra and 14 degrees of Aries on August 21st. Again, this could also relate to important financial decisions you need to make. Something is being brought to your attention that you have to handle or take care of, and you have to do so very responsibly with that Saturn energy there. We are also in the final days of Leo season, and so we're also feeling the intensity of what started during that Leo Total Solar Eclipse. This means you could be working with more extremes of light and dark, and that's because that total solar eclipse was a blackout of the sun by the moon, and the moon was then in this intensification of a rebirth. And as the moon moved away from the sun, new realizations came to light. New understandings have come through that are highly evident and visible. People can't hide. They can't manipulate stories. They can't make up things in order to maintain a certain position anymore, because there's now too much truth that is revealed and too much collective understanding of what's been going on and why. And as we move into Virgo season, it's going to be easier and simpler to understand what is best for your energy, because Virgo season is where we do a detox. We refine our energy and look at what we really need versus what is excessive, and we become more grounded in our daily devotions. Now, Virgo season begins on August 22nd at 10:19 p.m. Eastern Time. That's when the sun enters Virgo and makes an immediate trine to Chiron retrograde in Taurus at 0 degrees. This is a stabilizing influence over the weekend that is going to support you in listening to your body, your health, your energy field, and tuning in to what your nervous system is truly feeling and where it needs greater support. Now, that trine to Chiron in Taurus gives us answers in the stillness, allows us to hear the messages from the body, and it will simplify what you need. So this could be a good weekend to look at your own grounding practices, to look at what in your life needs to be trimmed, reduced, or removed as part of the Virgo detox theme. And you're going to feel good about it. There's going to be an exhale, a sense of, yes, this is a better approach, or this is a better choice, or this is really what I need right now. And I didn't realize I was running on empty. Now, this alignment with the sun in Virgo at 0 degrees and Chiron retrograde in Taurus at 0 degrees signifies a 0 point beginning that is going to also show you a new solution. And so you might come into contact with something you just didn't notice before and realize this is what I want to do now. This would be good for me and my nervous system. This could be something that presents itself with calm clarity. It could also feel like a welcomed surge of earth energy as the sun now moves into the mutable earth expressions of Virgo. And then only a few days later, on August 25th, Mercury enters Virgo and also has that immediate trine to Chiron retrograde in Taurus at 0 degrees. So essentially, August 22nd to August 25th, stay open to new routines, new processes, new areas of your life to be organized and improved, because I think this is going to be the start to Virgo season that is very calming and settling. And you could feel like you have a grip on something, especially if the past number of months have been very overwhelming and overstimulating. This is again that calming influence that returns us to our body, our heartbeat, our nervous system, and essentially how we have been digesting information. And that word digesting is key here because the Virgo energy rules the digestive tract, the stomach, and many of those internal organs that support the detox process, including the liver and the spleen. So this is a time to tune in to what you have been holding, perhaps even where you've been tight and bracing yourself in some capacity that has limited internal energy movement. Because what I'm feeling is that there's going to be a recognition of lack. I haven't had enough liver support, or I haven't had enough rest or downtime. I haven't had enough of something. And then this Chiron retrograde in Taurus wants to bring it to your daily practice, wants you to see it and claim it so that you have some healthier habits and routines as you move further into Virgo season and, of course, through eclipse energies as well. So the start of Virgo season is going to bring in new solutions and remedies, and they come in with ease since both the Sun and Mercury in Virgo are trining this Chiron retrograde in Taurus. So it's important to make the most of the start of Virgo season because as both the Sun and Mercury continue through Virgo, they are conjunct and travel together at 3 and 4 degrees of Virgo, and they each are under tension from Neptune retrograde in Aries at 3 degrees and Pluto retrograde in Aquarius at 3 degrees, creating an inconjunct from both Neptune and Pluto to the Sun and Mercury in Virgo. And these inconjuncts from the outer planets highlight evolutionary tension that is being applied to the early degrees of Virgo in your chart, specifically 3 and 4 degrees of Virgo. So let's break this down a little bit more because this is where you're going to really feel what is not working. There's going to be an understanding that the results, process, and plan is out of date. It's not paying off. It has expired. And there is a pressure here for evolutionary growth through that inconjunct from Neptune and Pluto, which are also creating a finger of God to the Sun and Mercury in Virgo. The intensity here is going to be felt if you have planets or points in the early degrees of Virgo, specifically, I'd say 0 to 6 degrees of Virgo. And there's going to be evidence, documentation, or clarity of some kind in the physical world that it's not working. And that's because Virgo is an earth sign, and the earth signs rule the physical experiences of our lives. So there's going to be something that presents itself to you that you see with your own eyeballs. You read, you understand. It's that mercurial energy that brings in the details, the data, and the facts. And that finger of God pressure is going to intensify anxiety, stress, decision-making fatigue, worry, guilt. It's going to first bring up the lower expressions of Virgo. And that's so you can understand how you're processing the energy, right? What's coming up for you, but then to know that there is a way out and a way forward. And that is coming with the August 28th Pisces Lunar Eclipse. And so a few days before this eclipse, again, that's on August 28th, we have this intensifying finger of God on August 26th. So this could also pertain to health matters. Something in your body is screaming at you or is looking for your attention. Maybe you're realizing, again, what you've been holding or carrying. Maybe there's something you've been putting off and pushing away, and now it's front and center, and it hurts or it's so uncomfortable that you can't ignore it. You've got to take care of it. You've got to go to the doctor. Virgo is medicine, doctors, nurses, and specialists, those who help you find a solution and understand what to do. I would say too that with this astrological alignment, it's a new alternative pathway that you haven't tried before. It's something different, maybe really bizarre, something that's advancing you, something that you wouldn't even think would help solve the problem. This is the push. This is what is evolving Virgo, is that the energy here is saying you've got to think of this in a new way and be open to what you don't know, what you didn't consider, what you weren't sure of. There is more of a risk-taking invitation here that the Virgo energy doesn't always welcome or want. And so that's a big part of this push, is that you're being required to make a change in your life that could feel overwhelming and too big to handle. And this will be felt the most if you have planets or points in the early degrees of Virgo. Now, the energy then continues to the August 28th Pisces Lunar Eclipse, which I will have a separate podcast episode for you on as well. And I actually have a video now on YouTube for you discussing that full chart, going through the astrology and the specifics of the Pisces Lunar Eclipse, including some of this information that I'm sharing with you now. But essentially, you want to be paying attention to the wisdom of your gut, of your body, of your mind. You want to be more open to anything that perhaps you weren't ready for, because that Virgo energy can be so focused on only what's in front of it and sticking with something and saying, well, I've always done it this way because it works. Well, the universe is saying, so it's not going to work anymore. We need to bring in some updates and improvements. There will be a new operating system here that's going to be coming in. This is your heads up. You will see it, and it's going to actually work better for you, but you have to consciously make that shift and that change. And of course, the disclaimer is I'm not giving you medical advice. I'm not saying anything is going to happen with your health, but these are just areas to pay attention to because these themes are so strong right now. Also, keep in mind that we just had the South Node in Virgo. And as the South Node completes its journey through an astrology sign, it completes it by going through the early degrees. And so the South Node was just here at 4 and 3 degrees of Virgo back in May and June. And maybe there is something that you've already been sensing and aware of since May and June that is now coming front and center for a new resolution. Think of it that way. That's a great Virgo word. I'm resolving this in a new way. I'm going to implement a new plan, a new process that's more aligned with your higher frequencies, with who you are evolving into. And so maybe there's going to be some things here that you've already known were changing and shifting. And this is a week, or rather, these are the final few weeks here in August into September when the message is happening and it's loud and clear. Now, for some people, this is about your job, your work, your skill set, what you've always done well, what you have relied upon to demonstrate your expertise and your excellence, this is where you could have fear around your job. You could really have your antennas up around what's going on in your workplace, and you would be smart to trust what you're feeling. It's sort of like if you were to ask somebody, are they planning more layoffs by the end of the year? Are they making changes in the office anytime soon? They're probably going to tell you no, but the astrology says trust yourself and plan accordingly. Make your next moves. Do what you need to do based on what you're feeling and sensing. Don't wait for anyone else to validate what you're already picking up on in the energy field. So if you are worried about your job, that worry is coming up for a reason. If you're sensing that things are changing behind the scenes, that message is coming through for a reason. These messages always come through for a reason. So trust yourself. This is not the time to be complacent. It's not the time to just sit and see what happens, because things are going to happen rapidly. They're going to happen quickly. And there are going to be even more layoffs that occur August, September, and October. So know that if you're sensing that in yourself, that maybe there are ways to do something short term, do a side gig, a side hustle that becomes more of a thing. I mean, I know it's different for all of you, and I'm not trying to offer solutions for everyone, but what I'm saying is trust yourself and your intuition, and trust it so that you can get through any stress and worry, which is also very real. It's a very real thing when you feel that your job or your work is on shaky ground, and then you go into everything that's connected to that. Very valid, very big, very real. But I think it also means that the universe is bringing in fast-moving solutions so that you can pivot quickly and do the next thing. Do the next thing even before what you would normally plan. So for many people, you think, oh, well, I would give my 2-week notice. This energy says that if you're offered something, you take it sooner than later. You act on it, you say yes, you move ahead, and you work with the energies that are coming forward, not against them. Because if you're offered something new in a short span of time and you can't give your 2-week notice, that position could be offered to someone else who says yes right away. So these energies are fast moving. We've been talking about that all year, and it's important to keep pace with them, which is not how the Virgo energy normally works, nor is it how the Pisces energy normally works. And those are big energies that we're moving into here during the Pisces Lunar Eclipse. So you're going to have to move faster than what you're typically comfortable with. Now, the Sun and Mercury in Virgo are also approaching an exact square to Uranus in Gemini at 5 degrees. And that exact square occurs on the eclipse on August 28th, but it's very active once Virgo season begins. And so I'm looking at how Virgo season starts with the Sun and Mercury in Virgo trining that calming, stabilizing Chiron retrograde in Taurus at 0 degrees, giving you a moment to listen to yourself and what you're feeling, what your body is holding, how your nervous system is performing, also being aware of what you need that's been lacking and to give that to you. And then after a few days of that energy, then both the Sun and Mercury move into this pressure cooker with all 3 outer planets that in conjunct to Pluto, in conjunct to Neptune, square to Uranus. And so the early degrees of Virgo in your chart are highly active with change that could be disruptive and unsettling, and also, again, stressful. But keep in mind that there is more than one solution to every problem. There are multiple directions. There are things you can newly choose or newly understand that maybe you weren't able to see previously. But this eclipse energy that we're moving towards is going to bring about more changes in profession, job, skill sets, and what you do for a living, what you support. And that's how Virgo energy works as well. I would anticipate that there are going to be more and more people who are in supportive roles, admin roles, like back office roles that are going to be losing or diminishing in their work commitments, and in the higher realms, in the higher levels. Your soul is directing this for you. Your soul is saying it's time to move on. You're ready for the next thing. This is the love push into the next version or the next chapter of what you're here to do. There is something else waiting for you. There will be another option, but it's going to look very different than the previous work you were doing. And the more open you are to advancing your skills, talents, and abilities, the more things are going to start to formulate and come together. This is part of the trend of the overall global cycle changes that we're in that come in even stronger in 2027. And I just did a podcast episode for you on Monday discussing that, how we're beginning a new 400-year cycle around the era of the individual. And that means we no longer can go into the umbrella of a company, business, or industry to keep us safe or to provide for us. We can no longer rely upon them as we have for decades, as we have developed and built our careers. We now are being guided to depend on ourselves in a whole new way. There is also going to be the increase in small businesses of people who work together. So think of like a small office of 5 people, 3 people, 9 people. That is where there will be options and opportunities. And that's also where the new endeavors are going to come through. So the mental shift is a lot here. And I'm not saying it's easy. It does depend on your natal Mercury in how you deal with change, especially big life changes. But I'm speaking in a very broad sense here that you're going to be ushered into new ways of using your energy that are part of a bigger theme on the planet where humans are evolving into a new understanding of your purpose, how to use your time, how to use your intelligence and your expertise, and how to be productive in ways that actually bring you joy, that actually light you up every day. I love that I get to be living my passion and helping people connect to astrology and understand it for themselves. It's a big shift in belief system. It's a big change in how you look at work, employment, and your everyday job, because a lot of people have a disconnect from that. They have a sense of, well, I have to do this to get the paycheck, or I have to do this because it's the only thing I know how to do. But part of this global change is actually bringing you into a new understanding of your belief system around work, around what you do every day, around the value of your energy. And this is going to be a big deal for many people. It's going to be strong here as we move through the remaining months of 2026, as we move into the holiday season. It's also going to be a big theme next year in Q1, quarter one, where there will be even more layoffs as the year begins. So this is simply the world that we are entering into, and we have many new choices to make that, again, I understand are not easy, but this is where the astrology can be quite validating because it's the season of change that we're in at a collective level and at an individual level. And on that note, I have heard the feedback from many of you that you need assistance in ensuring that your business is aligned with these new energies, that you're doing it in the best way for you, that it is correct for how your energy naturally operates, and that it's also something you can stick with long term. And so I have created 2 upcoming in-person retreats in October to discuss and teach how to integrate your astrology and human design energies together to create a business that you love and you look forward to. We need this in ourselves, but we need this in the world. We need people who feel so alive with what they're doing that they bring that energy to other people. And this is also where many of you are the healers, the guides, the astrologers, the energy masters. You are the ones who have been doing your own business perhaps for a while, and you're sensing the changes are unfolding, and you're also going to get busier. More people are going to be seeking out healers, guides, Reiki masters, astrologers, and experts for their next steps in life, but also to support them in what they need on a daily basis. Some of you are about to get very busy with your work, and that might be hard to believe if you've been struggling for a while, but that's where the energy is going. That's one of the transitions that's happening with the era of the individual that begins in 2027. And so I am leading these 2 retreats in October, one in San Diego, California, and one in Orlando, Florida, to assist you in establishing the priorities and processes that will work for you. This is going to be an experience that helps you see your energy in a new way and connect some important dots. So this will be a weekend that's very productive and business oriented. It'll also be great for networking and meeting other people. Now, some of you have asked about this being an online experience, and I have heard you. So if you cannot make it to an in-person event, I am going to have an online option that will be available next week. All right, so it's not there yet as an option. It's coming soon. And that's so that more of you can connect with this information and so that it can help you as well. So more details about that coming next week. But I do hope to meet many of you in San Diego or Orlando. We're going to have a great time together, as well as be productive and put together a strong plan and process that'll work for you. So check out more of the details in the description box of the podcast. You can also find more on my website, mollymccord.online, under events. So wishing you a beautiful week ahead as we move in between eclipses. And I'll see you back here on Monday and Wednesday of next week. I also have some videos coming out for you on YouTube, further discussing more of these energetics. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you back here soon.